Hello. You want to say hello too?
Hello.
Today we thought we would talk about something specifically about why we were disfellowshipped. If you have watched the videos called Vivian's Witness, I relate how I was disfellowshipped, what got us disfellowshipped, and I mention a 200-page document that was the direct cause of our being disfellowshipped. The reason we put this all down in a document form was because all my family are Jehovah's Witnesses, and I knew that I could not have a rational discussion with them about the problems I was having with the Watchtower and the discoveries I was making. That would do justice to the amount of information, that I would forget things. It was very volatile information, and I was very emotional. So we thought, let's gather all the information together and then put it down on paper and give it to my family and a few of our friends so that they would understand why we were having difficulties staying in the witnesses. So we put together a 200-page document, and I have it here.
Going through 2 typewriters. 200
pages of documentation. I'm not going to read you 200 pages today, but we did want to read the first 10 pages of the document are our personal thoughts and an explanation for what the difficulties are.
As it was intended to go to New York Bethel, as well as Georgetown Bethel in Canada.
Right. And my family and our closest friends. So we put this together with very little personal comment. So the 10 pages really are our personal comment. The rest is quotes from their literature and from their Bible. Mm-hmm. This was done in an effort not to be disfellowshipped.
Didn't work.
Because I wanted my family to also have a chance to process this information. I'd already had 2 years of trying to process it. I knew they would need time to process it. So we thought we would read you today the letter, but we will do it in parts because there were 8 issues that are presented. So we're going to do it in parts. 10 pages.
10 pages, but not all in one video, of course.
Yeah.
So here's the letter we intended to go to Bethel in New York. We don't think it got there, but it did get to circuit overseers, at least.
And to this Bethel in Canada.
And to Georgetown Bethel in Canada.
Right.
Here's the letter. Here's how it started. Dear brothers, Vivian and I are writing to present issues that have become major stumbling blocks to both of us. These issues arose gradually in the course of researching for several calls and studies going back about 5 years. We were quite confident, brothers, at the beginning, that most of the problems would disappear if we just applied ourselves to research in the publications. And this we did. Over the past 2 years, we have consulted every publication available to us, including older volumes in the Kingdom Hall Library, in order to deal with the issues fairly and comprehensively. The devastating discoveries this research led to have also occasioned countless hours of close Bible study, meditation, and prayer. We say devastating because the most important and challenging questions remain unresolved. As a result, several once interested calls and studies have moved away from the organization. And because our research upturned more problems than it eliminated, we too found our faith in the organization faltering. It has reached the point where neither Vivian nor I feel we can, in good conscience, attend meetings. But we certainly wish to present you, brothers, the opportunity to refute the charges that have been made against the organization. It is possible we have overlooked some relevant material in the literature. Therefore, brothers, we bring these issues before you, confident that you will do your best to shed what light you can. Here, in substance, are the claims that caused the stumbling. We have included explanatory material which will help you understand why we have been unable to deal successfully with each claim and related accusations. The bracketed numbers refer to the corresponding pages of documentation that follow the body of this letter. Also, where appropriate, we've inserted the scriptural principles that seem to us and the aforementioned interested individuals crucial to the issues under discussion. These are the claims and charges raised.
So I will read the first charge or claim. That we are guilty of false prophesying, smearing God's name rather than vindicating it. Since the organization claims to be a prophet, Jehovah will judge it by the standards of a prophet he set out in Deuteronomy chapters 13 and 18 and 1 Samuel chapter 3. And because virtually all its predictions have failed, even to the repeated setting of dates for God's action, examples of 1914, 1915, 1918, 1920, 1925, and 1975, in violation of Christ's words in Acts 1:7, we who lend our support to this prophet can expect the severest judgment. This due to the reproach that inevitably falls on Jehovah and his word when those who claim to be his mouthpiece attribute their predictions to light from him. We are accused too of criticizing those whose hopes were disappointed by these failures, as if these publishers, not the society, set up the dates. And two, that by continually maintaining the illusion of urgency, we not only go on unrepentantly promoting false prophecy, but keep brothers too busy to investigate for themselves these important matters.
Number 2 issue, that we build our entire prophetic picture on a single crumbling foundation, the year 1914. By our own definitions, therefore, we continue to be guilty of blasphemy and slander against Jehovah. Charles T. Russell himself admitted that if one part of his chronology failed, the whole of it, including 1914, would be an irreparable wreck. That's his phrase. The Society maintained and publicized this same thought for years after Russell's death. Even so, while the organization has abandoned all the prophetically marked dates of Russell, 1799, 1829, 1844, 1846, 1872, 1874, 1878, 1881, 1908, 1910 to 12, 1915, 1918, 1920, and 1925. Those were all Russell's dates. We continue to hang on to 1914, ignoring the fact that all the Society's predictions respecting that date failed, and that even the date itself was the result of a miscalculation. Therefore, it is claimed, we are guilty of double deception. One, insinuating in modern literature that Russell was accurate in his predictions of the heavenly kingdom being set up in 1914. And number 2, quietly later adjusting the erroneous chronology to prove Russell predicted that date, whereas if he had calculated correctly, the times of the Gentiles would have ended in 1915. Additionally, it has been alleged that society has resorted to a journalistic fraud in order to create the impression that 607 BCE is a biblically and chronologically sound date for the beginning of the Gentile times. For example, using quotes from Edwin Teale's The Mysterious Numbers of the Hebrew Kings and Josephus's Against Apion to substantiate our point of view without even pointing out that both sources actually contradict our position when read in context. Let Your Kingdom Come, one of the books the Watchtower put out, by the way, in the 1970s, is a reference cited here, and also Awake from 1972. Vivian and I have investigated both sources and many others because we were challenged to find any support for the date 607. We have failed to find any so far. A list of the references we have already checked is included. It is usually emphasized in the Society's publications that 607 BCE, while not accepted by secular historians who place little weight on the Bible statements, will readily be accepted as the date of Jerusalem's fall by those who rely on God's Word. Therefore, in our research, we have put heavy emphasis on gathering references representing all points of view respecting the Bible's authority. Yet, even among conservative Bible scholars, those holding a position virtually identical to ours respecting the Bible's inerrancy, we found absolutely no support for any date prior to 588 BC. These conservative writers seem to have no problem at all reconciling the Bible's data, for example, Jeremiah's chapters 25 and 29, 2 Chronicles 36, Daniel 9, Zechariah 1 and 7, with information from secular history. Now we'll take up points 3 and 4
And 5.
and 5,
The next time.
which detail information about progressive light and about the nature of the gospel itself, and also self-deception, the self-deception of Jehovah's Witnesses and the Watchtower in the next segment.